Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again, and today's video is actually a hosted video by Bret Contreras. Now, Bret's someone who I've been following in the fitness industry for quite a while, and in fact, he put out a great video the other day that was talking about squatting depth. So I approached him and asked if he'd be interested in doing something similar for my channel, and to be quite honest, I just expected him to let me take his video and kind of put one of these intros on it and just rehash what he already covered. But when I approached him with it, he actually said he'd love to do it, and in fact, he was going to refilm it and add in some more information, and it really is a great video that talks about squatting depth, which is something that you guys know I've had an issue with, and I'm sure based off of either your own personal experience in the gym or seeing others, you can kind of relate. And Bret takes a really great approach to it to explain exactly why things the way they are and give you some great tips as well. So if you're interested, please check out the video, check out his channel, check out his website. You'll be able to find those linked in the description box below. So let's get to the video, and as always, thanks for watching and stay big.
Hey guys, Coach Bret Contreras here. This video is going to teach you how to determine your ideal squat depth. So, go to any commercial gym, you'll typically see guys loading up, 5 plates on each side and going down to here. That's called a quarter squat. That is not ideal for building hypertrophy. Several studies show that even though you're using lighter weight, when you squat deep, you build your quad mass and hamstring mass to a greater degree. So you want to squat deep. The problem is, not everyone can do a rock bottom squat. Let me tell you about an important study that looked at 200 subjects. This was a huge study involving 200 people. They looked at hip range of motion. So this is called hip flexion mobility, right? Hip flexion range of motion. And what they found was there was a huge range between subjects. So the people with the worst hip mobility had 80 degrees. The people with the best had 140 degrees. So let me take Skelly here and show you what this looks like. So this is Skelly. 80 degrees, so 90 degrees is a right angle, right? Now 80 degrees is going to be like right here. So if you can imagine, let me try and set Skelly up in a squat. Skelly can't even squat to parallel, not even close. This is 80 degrees right here. So the people with really poor hip mobility can get to right here. If they go any deeper than this, watch what's going to happen. The hip can't go any deeper. The hip stops right here. Now it's important that you know why it stops. It stops because of how the head of the femur interacts with the hip socket, the acetabulum. How this fits into the ball and socket joint, all right? It'll typically, the head of the femur will hit. It hits the ridge of the acetabulum, like right here. It can't go any deeper. So if you go deeper, you can go deeper, but it's not going to be achieved through greater hip flexion because it hits right here. So how do you get deeper? You tilt the pelvis posteriorly and you flex the lumbar spine. It looks like this. This is bad. This can create disc herniations and ligament injuries. You don't want that. So you want to keep the spine stable in neutral position. You want to keep that arch. You don't want to lose it. So how much is needed to go rock bottom? As you can see here, for Skelly to do a rock bottom squat, that's about 140 degrees of hip flexion. And not many people have that. So how do people go hit rock bottom? Most people will, say top out around here, and they will flex a little bit. There is some wiggle room with butt wink. Okay? Butt wink is where you tilt the pelvis rearward and flex the lumbar spine. A little bit is okay, too much will hurt you. If you're like me and you want to be squatting for a lot of decades to come, then you really want to pay attention to this. So let me teach you how to determine your ideal squat depth. Alright, I'm going to get next to, I'm going to use a squat rack. I'm going to use the bar here for support. And I'm just going to get down like this, okay? Now, it is important to stay on the heels because that's how you're going to squat in real life. You don't want to come up onto your toes. So as you can see here, I can achieve a nice rock bottom squat if I come up onto my toes, but that's poor squatting mechanics. So get down on your heels, and now use this bar for balance, and just relax. Relax everything. So this would be a really crappy squat, right? I wouldn't want to squat like that because look at how rounded my spine is. So I'm going to use my spinal erectors to keep an arch in the spine, right? So what do I have to do here? As I get the arch, you're going to watch my hips raise up. So arch, 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 using my erectors. All right, and then I get to about right here. Okay, make sure you're leaning forward. If you let go of this and you fall backwards, then that's not characteristic of a real squat. In a real squat, you lean forward a little bit to keep your balance. Okay, so right here, this is as deep as I can go. It's below parallel, but it's not ass to grass. I can't squat ass to grass. This is as deep as I can go. I'm keeping a nice arch in my spine and pelvis. So this right here is good squat form for me. If I go deeper than this, watch what I have to do. Round the spine, okay? It's not good, okay? So I want to stay right here. This is good for me. Now, notice that I need a lot of ankle dorsiflexion here to achieve this squat depth. So sometimes squat depth can be limited by ankle dorsiflexion. And you'll see some guys, like Olympic weightlifters, for example, they will wear Olympic shoes that give them some heel. Some people will squat with their heels on plates or boards. What this does is give you artificial ankle dorsiflexion mobility so you can stay more upright. And that's one solution for people who have poor ankle dorsiflexion mobility. But watch here if I don't. Let's say I only had this much ankle dorsiflexion mobility right here. All right? Then let's see my squat, it's rounded because I can't go to here. So if this is all I had, how would I determine my ideal squat depth with this amount of ankle dorsiflexion mobility? I'd have to come up, come up, come up, come up, lean right here. That's as deep as I could go. So I just showed you how poor ankle dorsiflexion limits squat depth as well. So if you are very limited in squat depth, what can you do? Because most of it is determined by hip anatomy and then your ankle flexibility. There's only so much you can do, but you can improve it. So here's the ways to improve it. Number one, you can work on increasing your ankle dorsiflexion mobility. Things you can do for that are calf stretches, stretching the calves. You can also kind of go like this and lean in and feel that stretch in here, okay? You can also just get into a squat position using a bar and lean to one side. I'm going to pick this ankle, lean in, and I'm going to push, feel that stretch back in here. Then I'll shift to this side and do the same. What I like about this way of stretching is you can work on hip mobility at the same time. So I'm kind of balancing a little, I can squirm a little, shake, and I can work on getting my hips loose and getting my hips deeper in addition to getting my ankles as well. So just doing this and kind of, squirming and wiggling, and you can build ankle and hip mobility this way. But you can also increase your squat depth by learning how to use your glutes. And let me show you why. We'll bring Skilly back here. And the glutes right here, what they do is they pull rearward on the femur. So if you don't use your glutes, it's going to migrate forward a little bit in the socket, and it's going to cause this to hit the ridge faster. If the glutes are pulling rearward, it creates a little bit of room for you to go a little bit deeper. And this is why when people learn how to use their glutes through glute activation drills and through proper squat technique, they will tell you that they get deeper with the squat over time. Okay? Does hamstring stretching always work? Well, think about this. As I go down into a squat, if my leg stayed straight and I went into hip flexion, this lengthens the hamstring. But as you go down into squat, your hip moves into flexion, but your knee moves into flexion. So it shortens at the knee and lengthens at the hip. So is hamstring mobility limiting squat depth? It can a little bit if you're having a big forward tilt of the spine around the pelvis, because anterior tilt, but not much. Generally speaking, the hamstrings don't change a ton of length in the squat because the knee and hip are moving at the same time. So don't think that just stretching your hamstrings will improve your squat depth. Again, work on increasing your ankle dorsiflexion mobility, your hip flexion mobility, and then your glute activation. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching.